Hi, how's it going, everybody? I'm recording this on 17th of July, Wednesday, 2024, and I don't want to be the traditional Mr. I'm gonna react to other people's content guy, so it's gonna be more of a discussion for me here. So on Monday of July 15th, 2024, ABC News Indet released a documentary about Donald Trump, and it was more of I don't know if they knew about when they were releasing this. I think it was too late and far into production to change it, but I think when they were planning this, they were more like going as a smear campaign. As you're gonna see, they will bring in a couple of people and they'll discuss what Donald Trump was like a president in the 4 years from 2016 to 2020. And I think when you look at this documentary, you'll realize one of the reasons Donald Trump actually lost this election in 2020 was because of the people he actually worked with in the government, who he called the unelected officials, like people who are not Congress, not senators. No, they're not representatives. They are like hired by the government, by the federal government. They are not elected by the people, so their job is to carry out the will of the president. But as you go through this documentary, you find out a lot of these guys were more of activists inside the government. They were like acting against their own president, which I find it really, really weird, because it's kind of considered, I don't know, it depends where you come from, because in the part of my country, if you do something like this, it's kind of treason. I don't know if we can go to that extreme. Treason is an extreme word, but I feel like as a member, if you're working for the president is the proxy of the people. So the people decide, the people choose a president due to his policies. Now the president has to implement these policies through the unelected official, right? So if the unelected officials do not like these policies, it's not their place to speak up about it, because their job is to implement it, take orders, like like the army. You have to just follow orders, because you're not elected by the people. You're here to serve the people. But I feel like a lot of these guys who were brought in this documentary, as you guys see, they were more like, they turned into activists, non-elected officials, but they were activists working for the president.
The difficult task was dealing with the whims of his commander-in-chief.
So here it goes on about how this guy was working for the president, managing his stuff, and he goes on how president was kind of immature. I don't know, he says the president doesn't pay attention, he doesn't follow protocol. People walk into the Oval Office so as much as they want. And then he goes on about this joke president made about closing the border, and then in which he said he will put crocodiles and snakes in a moat outside the border, so people, when they come in, they fall in the moat and meet the crocodiles. And I kind of think, I'm not taking sides here, but I feel like this guy, he went in with a prejudice, like he wanted to go with the bad. He just wanted to disdain the president. Maybe he didn't like the policies, but it was not in his position to stand, because the words he used and the way, when he has to describe the president with one word, he says he's an idiot. If you are willing to go that far as a person against your president, your employer, the person you're supposed to be taking orders from, I feel like this is not a very good example of a workforce employee, because I have been in a I'm young, I'm 22 by the way, and I've been in the workplace, in the workforce. I've done jobs for people, and I know sometimes your employer might be, not ideal, but there are compromises you come to. But I feel like when what Miles has come up with is more of an activist in the government, but he's not wrong. Maybe I don't know Donald Trump as much as he did. He has worked way too closer to him than I did, but I feel like he's more of an activist inside the government, which may be one of the reasons Donald Trump's government failed and it went out with a big bang. So the documentary here goes on ahead, and it talks about some of these guys. They kind of nickname them traitors, like traitors to the government of Trump. And for some reason, these guys are all, you are boomer looking old dudes with glasses, missing some hair, I don't know, and they keep saying the same thing, Trump is a threat to democracy of our country. I don't know, like this kind of detached, like they're singing the same tune, which I don't understand, because it is funny if you consider these two, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Joe Biden has been more of a threat to democracy than Trump in the past 4 years, because under Trump we didn't see prosecution of opponents, of his political opponents, but under Joe Biden we've seen it. We're actually even seeing an attempted assassination of a political opponent. You see, everything these people say, Trump is a threat to democracy, he's dangerous to American people, he's a big liar, somehow it comes flipping up on the Democrats, like they're giving us their own words, their rhetorics. They keep using the rhetorics, the right word. They keep using the same rhetorics, which for the past 2-3 days where people have began saying we need to tone down, because it's turning the American people against each other, which is kind of funny. It's kind of interesting to mention out. And well, I don't know. I'm not taking a side here. I am not an American voter. I am miles and miles away from America, so I don't get to make a decision. But in my opinion, it seems to be that there are some people who just seem to be singing the same tune, just singing the same tune. So jumping forward, we get to this episode, or I can say chapter, where they speak about Trump and his involvement with Russia, being friends with President Putin, Russia's involvement in election rigging in 2016, and the way Trump responded. And actually, I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to Trump's response.
To our greatest adversary, which is Russia.
Strong and powerful in his denial today. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be, but
Well, I remember very vividly sitting there in the front row of the audience watching this, thinking to myself, my God, what are we going to do now?
My jaw hit the floor. I mean, that is an abhorrent statement to make.
This guy is what Donald Trump actually did. He put an end to an accusation that our adversaries, their adversaries, the United States adversaries at the time, Russia, main adversary was Russia, that they had rigged the American elections to get Donald Trump into power, which won't make sense to me, because that period, Russia and the United States seemed to be at par. They were not knocking heads with each other, and Trump didn't give Putin any advantages over the United States. I mean, there was peace there, but these people keep saying that he surrendered to our enemy, to our greatest adversary. I mean, it seems to me like these people, all they want is just show of force. We are better than you Russians, we were in war with Russia, for some reason, which doesn't make sense, which may be the reason why the world is at where it is right now. Is maybe because these people just want to be constantly at war with these people, with their adversaries like Russia and China. And this has been my unpopular opinion. There will come a time America and Russia will work together, and then you will know the world is fucked. Yeah, mark my words. There will come a time America and Russia will be forced to work together, and then you will know the world has gone to shit that time. Another interesting aspect they kind of talked about was how Trump idolized dictators. The Turkish president, what is his name? The North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, and kind of helps me wonder, why would they say that? I mean, Trump. We remember they said Trump was gonna cause war between Korea and the United States. How they were logging heads for a while, and then it ended, and then there was no longer any escalation between the United States and North Korea. There was no escalation between the United States and Russia. For some reason, I don't understand. But another interesting aspect is this dude right here, this guy here. He mentioned something about when Trump was asked about what he thought about Kim Jong-un. He said, if I was, and I quote, if that guy had a knife and I was in a room with him together, he would have gouged my stomach. That means he understood the death and how how delicate the situation was dealing with these dictators. But the way the opposition brings it about is more of, well, he didn't know what he was doing. He went into this blind. He was impulsive in making decisions, which kind of doesn't make sense if you think about it, because there was stability. There was stability when it comes to world what do we call it? When it comes to world affairs. I mean, he killed the ISIS leader.
He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border, and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
Will deliver Trump a band of loyalists eager to carry out his agenda. What sort of questions do they ask potential appointees?
Here, let me read you a few of those questions. They ask them to weigh in on whether the president should be able to advance his or her agenda through the bureaucracy without hindrance from unelected federal officials. And that's a dog whistle, of course. And then they ask whether you agree that the federal government should recognize only two unchanging sexes, male and female, as a matter of policy.
So what do those sort of questions say to you about the sort of people that Project 2020?
Now, a couple of things there I don't get. For example, she says the president driving his own or her own agenda through the unelected official. That is their job. They are unelected officials. They're supposed to drive to implement president's agenda, because the president is the proxy of the people. President does the people's will. How? Through the unelected officials. Now, on matter of sex, I am from Africa. We believe in only two sex. There's only male and female. There is no discussion in between. So I don't get how that's an issue if conservatives also take that as their stance. That's not even, how do you even do that and say this guy is a bad leader? It's just going with the traditional values. I like how things are always have been. That kind of doesn't make sense to me. But people still say, well, Project 2025 is bad, and, well, it's America for you.
We will completely overhaul the corrupt Department of Injustice to clear out all the communists who have weaponized government activities.
Now, interestingly, they took those words and they said he wants to redefine democracy, because he said he will get rid of everybody in the Department of Justice who fostered, the Communists and the Democratic Party, which is not far from the truth. I mean, look at Trump himself. They weaponized the Department of Justice to come after him because he was a political opponent. And, well, Erica Newland says she was in Trump's camp in 2016 and then she left, and now she's a big critic. And there are several people who left and then they came back, which part of the reason they say is due to January 6th, which also is a very controversial topic, because from what I've researched about January 6th, I've realized actually Trump was offered to provide support, to stop the riots from getting into the Capitol building. But, well, nobody is talking about that. Everybody's talking about Trump inciting his supporters, and we'll get there. You'll see people will just outrightly say it. He lied to his supporters. He said the election was rigged. He refused to follow the Constitution, which I don't get why they don't take to the other side of the aisle, listen to the evidences that are coming up, because a lot of things were suppressed. We know that by now. A lot of things were suppressed, Twitter and stuff, they were suppressed. And even when Trump told his supporters to do, if they were going to do it, they would do it peacefully. That fact never came to the public because, it doesn't fit the narrative of, Trump is a fascist, he's threat to democracy and other stuff. He wants to overthrow the Constitution, which, by the way, from what I've observed, it's actually the opposite, which is kind of ironic, don't you think?
Donald Trump is an authoritarian threat to this country. There's a playbook that authoritarians use. They aggrandize executive authority. They politicize independent institutions. They quash dissent. They spread misinformation. They target vulnerable communities. They corrupt elections, and they stoke violence. Donald Trump has engaged in all 7 of these.
Now, hold on. that doesn't sound right, right? That doesn't really sound right, because that's what the Democrats are doing. That's exactly what the Democrats are doing. I mean, let's look at it. Weaponizing independent institutions, education, Department of Justice. That is the Democrats. Misinformation, Twitter, censorship. That is the Democrats. ABC, MSNBC. That is the Democrats. Suppressing political opponents. That is the Democrats. What is happening? Also, they got to this point where this Democrat, I think congresswoman or a lawmaker who was part of the January 6th hearing, and she goes on to describe how Trump is dangerous. And notice, she's also an old lady, boomer looking, with glasses. I don't get it. She's standing, there's Clinton behind her over there. I don't get what beef Donald Trump has with these old boomers. They have serious case of TDS, and just like Bill Maher. Wow. My African accent does not allow me to say the word correctly. Bill Maher. I don't know, but I don't get it, because these are all old people, 60 plus, who just hate Donald Trump with passion, And you think they're the same age, and when people keep saying that we should show this to our parents, they should know who they are voting for. I'm wondering, why is it old people are the ones that hate Trump that much? Look at Nancy Pelosi. She's old as fuck. It's only the people that hate Trump. Young people, they support him. Okay, except for that one dude who tried to shoot him, but young people, they just support him generally.
Poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world. They're pouring into our country.
Poisoning the blood, that's a Hitler-esque statement.
Notice how she jumped that ship so fast, And when it comes to context, it turns out he was talking about fentanyl, fentanyl coming through the southern border and protected, and then leading to addiction. And it's true, I've seen it with myself, San Francisco, Philadelphia, super addicted. Okay, this guy, Chad Wolf, I think he was in charge of border security. I think he was in charge of border security under Trump, and he clarified it and said, well, poisoning blood is talking. He's not talking about the rest. I mean, Trump is has a big support base from the black people. He has a big support base from the Latino Asians. By the way, nobody talks about Asians because I think they don't fit in the narrative. I've come to realize this. The American society, there is whites, and then there is blacks, and then there's Latinos, but nobody talks about the Asians, because Asians are just good at what they do. And to be honest, I think they're holding the economy together. So if you would say he's saying he's bringing an Hitler-esque comment, just think about the people he has. I mean, doesn't make sense that if you were Hitler, we would have seen. I'm a black person. I would have noticed this guy doesn't like any other person that looks different from his skin. The color of his skin. It kind of makes the point a little mort if you keep saying it too much.
Are you going to run around the country in some armored car like we're in The Handmaid's Tale?
He said very clearly, I want to engage in the biggest mass deportation program in American history. How do you even begin to put forward a program and enact it?
Well, I think it's interesting. Let's talk about deportations a little bit, because I think those on the left hear that and say, oh my God, that sounds terrible. I don't understand how that sounds terrible. The idea of deporting individuals, removing individuals, or repatriating individuals that, again, don't have a legal right to be here, or perhaps are here because the law has been abused to get them here, they need to be removed from the country.
And he's not wrong, right? There's no discussion to be had there. And, the rest of the video just goes on about January 6th and threat to national security and violent acts. They say MAGA supporters are a threat to national security. It's kind of funny, this dude, this presenter, he kind of sounds like he's a left-leaning I don't feel comfortable labeling people left or right leaning, but I feel because that's the stance the world has taken now, I feel like this dude is left leaning. Let me just say it. He's a left leaning dude, and it's very clear because of how he presented this documentary. He was, he's been kind of saying Donald Trump will be, the end of American democracy as we know it, and they bring, an obvious DEI employee who was in the congressional hearing about January 6th, and he says, "Oh, Trump lied to his supporters." It's just, it goes dark from here. I mean, I look at this as a foreigner, and I convince myself, if I was an American, I will vote Republican. Definitely, I will definitely vote Republican, because I can see, even with anybody with common sense can see what is happening right here. And it's really not fair. If you ask me, it's really not fair for Donald Trump, an old man like him, fighting for his country and having this much backlash. But then those are January 6th over there taking place, and they say, Trump said fight like hell. I feel like it's not fair. It's not really fair. I've never seen a political opponent this hard hit. Although I've seen signs Nigel Farage is gonna face the same problems, but well, we'll cross that bridge when you get there. Luckily, if you're still alive. Ciao.